Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani here. Have you ever had a narcissistic person call you narcissistic? Drop it in the comments and let's figure out why they do this. It kind of sucks, right? It doesn't feel good. I mean, there's so many proverbs about this, I'm not even going to do that. But before I answer this question, if you're a therapist, life coach, or a therapist in training, I am launching a program in January of next year, 2024, that will be focusing on how to support and work with clients healing with narcissistic abuse. So see the link in the video description to get more info about that program. But let's talk about this. A narcissistic person calls you narcissistic, right? It's mighty rich, isn't it? But have you had that happen? It is, when it happens, you really at first like, who, what, huh? So let's start by breaking down the times that this does happen. So as you begin to heal from one of these relationships, or even take the healing, you just begin to get it. You get closer to radical acceptance. You do the things that show this, that you show that you're radically accepting. Maybe you assert your needs a bit more in the relationship. Not because you think the narcissistic person will meet them, but you recognize that you had given up on them all this time and you feel like you have nothing left to lose. You know what they're about. Or maybe you set a boundary, or you voice an opinion, or you don't take the bait, or you do some gray rocking. But these shifts that basically mean that you are no longer modifying and shaping and existing to suit them and their needs and wants, and you aren't chasing your tail all the time, trying to be what they want. Well, needless to say, when you start doing that, they don't like it. So you doing something very basic and healthy that may not be what they want to do, or it takes time away from them, or doesn't suit them, they're going to consider that narcissistic. They can watch this channel too, folks. In essence, you not doing what they want is you being narcissistic. They just don't get what narcissism is. You also may have called them out as narcissistic in the relationship, even though I've told you time and again that you do not ever want to call a narcissistic person out. That said, if you did, trust me, they're going to go look into what narcissism is if they don't know what it is. Now, the average person out there thinks of narcissism as either being like someone who loves to look in the mirror or being selfish. They don't understand all the abusive nuances of gaslighting, manipulation, narcissistic supply, the masks, and all the stuff that lifts this out of just being, again, a person who's looking in the mirror and doing whatever they want, to really, these are people who create relationships that are manipulative messes. So as a result, either the average person thinks narcissism is selfish, or they watch a video and shapes a narrative around the idea that you were not being empathic one day just because you didn't agree with them on something, right? Or that you were entitled because you wanted them to empty the dishwasher. But because a narcissistic relationship is a blame-shifting matrix, they are just going to turn it around on you. This is part of why I tell you to never call them out, because it's just going to take the mess and make it messier. But if you do call them out, inevitably they're going to start using that term against you. And then there is the issue of projection. And remember, projection happens at an unconscious level. A person doesn't choose to project. Projection is an unconscious defense that involves displacing the uncomfortable, acceptable part of oneself on another person. In the case of a narcissist, they do this so they can maintain their grandiose sense of perfection. And one could argue that at some level, if they are engaging in projection, their unconscious knows that their selfishness or their betrayal or entitlement or whatever it is shameful. But this is happening at a level of feeling. And they don't like that feeling, so they project it. They onto you, and you become the narcissist in the story. There is no point in ever pointing out the projection because it is happening at such an unprocessed, unconscious level. And then they're just going to tell you that you're a psychobabbling fool. And projection is also a reminder of how icky the psychological insides of a narcissistic person are. They aren't psychopathic. It isn't as though narcissistic people have no conscience, no remorse. They know what bad behavior is. But their impulsivity, their entitlement, their me, grandiosity, all means that they will still do bad things. And then when they feel really internally icky, and especially if they know it's a bad look, they're going to project all of that onto you. Them calling you narcissistic is often part of the larger picture of gaslighting. They will call you narcissistic as a way to leave you questioning yourself. And folks, it works. I can't tell you how many people I have worked with over the years who would tell me, ugh, I was so confused in this relationship and always being doubted and told things weren't happening or that I had said things I didn't, that my reality got so morphed that when they started telling me that I was the narcissist, that it ballooned into me wondering if I was the problem. Because that's the issue in these relationships, the self-blame, and many people wandering around if it's them. It's not you. If the gaslighting is bad or chronic enough, you may doubt yourself. And if they hit you with the idea that you're narcissistic, you'll believe it. You know the laundry list. You know what comprises narcissism. The empathy deficits, the entitlement, the grandiosity, the validation seeking, the arrogance, the egocentricity, the need for control, the impulsivity, the poorly regulated anger. You gotta have all that stuff to qualify. Listen, here's the thing. Posting on Instagram doesn't make you a narcissist. Giving yourself an hour a day to go to the gym doesn't make you a narcissist. Being exhausted after a long day working or caregiving and not feeling up to hearing about a friend's problems does not make you a narcissist. But if they grab onto those things you do and they play on that, oh, look at you having to post that picture of you at work that you edited on Instagram. Who's the narcissist? Don't fall for it. Know thyself. Know your empathy. Know all that other stuff about yourself. Don't push back on them, but hold it within you that you know it's not true. Ultimately, the narcissistic person calls you and other people narcissistic with little conscious or communicated awareness that it's them. So this way they can control the narrative, maintain a grandiose and perfect vision of themselves, dominate other people. That is always their end game. And they know it's not a good thing. Now, this begs the question, are there people out there who are self-aware narcissistic folks? Absolutely, yes. They are the I don't give an F what you think about me narcissists. And in some tiny number of cases, there are also those unicorns out there who are aware it's them and recognize it may be time to change. And I promise you we'll break all that down in another video. So when they call you narcissistic, I'm hoping that long before they do that you take the time to do the deep dive into you. I don't even mean to make yourself better, just to know yourself. If you know that you have solid empathy, that you aren't entitled, that you are respectful, and that you have other healthy, long-term, sustained friendships, healthy ones, and can get through the day without 100 people having to tell you that you're great or hot or the best, or that you don't need to manipulate other people to get your needs met, then yeah, it's not you. And don't let them gaslight you into believing otherwise. And It's Not You is the title of my new book that I please hope that you can go hit that link and pre-order, because it really breaks all of these themes down in a very concise way, because it's really not. This idea of narcissistic people calling out narcissists, I actually had this happen. I had this happen about a month or two before. And I have no doubt that some people who see this channel, Dr. Ramani's a narcissist, sure, fine. I wish we could break bread. You could learn otherwise, but you're going to hold your opinion of me, and I'm not going to tell your opinion's not true. That would be gaslighting you. But I had this person do this, and they were doing it though. In my case, it's unique, right? Because I talk about it in these online spaces. And so they were kind of getting this glee out of poking me. and saying like, oh, how interesting. I guess somebody who talks about a narcissist and has to be on YouTube and has to be on Instagram. Well, isn't that ironic? Doesn't that make you the narcissist? They were trying to play philosopher with me. I really wasn't in the mood for it that day. And I was kind of being a little bit, like sort of relenting. I'm like, yeah, I guess it does. But, whatever keeps the lights on. I wasn't giving the person the reaction they want. And then because I wasn't yielding, they're like, oh, I guess, yes, of course, you don't get mad, right? Ramani, you're above us all, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, I guess the air is really thin up here. This person was getting more and more aggravated. They wanted to see me get upset. And so in this case, I knew if I got upset, they'd actually stop and I had to get on with my day. So I did. I got upset. I'm like, how could you think this? I worked so hard on this. It's not fair. I can't believe, I was really good. And they're like, oh God, all right, you just keep doing you. But you know what? I was then able to go and pick up my mail and get some other stuff done. So I was able to get my stuff done. So it's all tactical, right? You got to figure it out. But I have to tell you, as I got in my car, went and drove and did my errands, it stung. It hurt my heart that this person, whatever their whole vibe and groove was, that they had to sting me to get through their day. Yeah, sure, I could have that conversation with myself. Well, I feel sorry for them that they need someone else to feel bad. Not my issue. I felt bad. So when they call you a narcissist, I can tell you all of this, but ultimately there's a minute there. It's almost like after someone slaps you across the face. No matter how much you can understand what the damaged psychology is of somebody who do that, you could catch yourself and say that, but in the moment you're slapped, it stings. So they can keep saying it. It could be all these sort of dynamics, but it hurts. Just don't take the bait unless you need to do it so you can run your errands. Thanks again.